everybody. Thank you for coming to this presentation. My name is Megan Nicholson. I'm doing this for Comms 201. It is my communications class for finishing my bachelor's degree at Western Carolina University. The presentation that I'm going to give is the future of campus safety, and it's going to be about the Jean Cleary Act. Up here I'm going to share some slides with you, give you a little information of what I'm going to show you. Three main points of this: the Jean Cleary Act and why we have to follow it. Each university and establishment has to follow the Jean Cleary Act. What the Cleary Act means for the university, the universities across the universe. What happens if the university does not follow the Jean Cleary Act. A little bit about who Jean Cleary was. The murder of Jean Cleary occurred on April 5th. It was in the early 1980s, 1985, 1986. Happened in Pennsylvania at the university. Cleary had been a student at the time of her death. She was killed in her campus dorm by Joseph Henry. Joseph Henry was also a student there at the university. Before this happened, there was no crime and no statistics that had to be shared with the parents or the students at any university when they approached the school. Like we have now in newspapers, Facebook, all crime statistics are shared. It's very, very hard to keep any crimes private. Back in the 1980s, though, we didn't have all that luxury. For a university to have to report, the only thing they had to report was what would happen. If it made national news, school shootings like now went unnoticed. Media never caught attention to it. Parents thought they were sending their kids to safe schools. Cleary family looked and looked and looked at all the different universities of where they could send their daughter. They found University of Pennsylvania. Thought it was going to be one of the top-notch schools to send her to. Her brother went elsewhere. One night while Jean Cleary was in her room, she left her door open, as many college kids do. She was waiting on her roommate to come home and didn't want her roommate to have to follow through her purse to get out the keys to get into her dorm room. She left it ajar and unlocked. She was awoken when Henry, in the process of robbing her, broke into her dorm room. He did not know anybody was in there. He proceeded to beat her and rape her for 2.5 hours. She was beat, cut, raped, sodomized, and finally, he strangled her. All within people within 5 or 10 feet around her in her dorm. Prior to Jean's death, the reports that her dorm had had 181 situations with auto-locking doors being kept unlocked. 181 incidences that was never ever shared with the public or with future students and future parents of students that were coming to their university. Prop doors were left open, doors were taped open, and students were left without any security and not knowing. The prop doors, as well as Cleary's own room door, left unlocked for her roommate, who forgot her keys or believed how Henry entered into the dorm room. It was reported to the police after confessing the murder to his friends and bragging, and that was how he was apprehended. He was later sentenced to death via the electric chair, and a decision upheld by the Supreme Court upon appeal. In 2002, after his death sentence was thrown out, Henry opted to give up his appeal rights and accepted life in prison rather than face another trial. This was something that the Cleary family had fought for many, many years. As Connie and Howard, which was Cleary's parents, learned more about her daughter's death, they grew convinced that her daughter had died because of the security on campus. Both her mother and her father had said that they would never have sent her there had they known that there were 181 reports of unlocked doors there in the dorm room. The Jean Cleary Disclosure Act of Campus is a federal statute that is required by all universities now to follow. To follow it, we have the annual security report, we have the crime log, and timely warnings and crime statistics. The way it's set up around a university, you have your university as a whole, you have your state roads and your sidewalks. Something happens off campus, we don't have to report it even if it happens to one of our students. If it happens in the geographic area of our campus, it is mandated that we report those incidents. We have 4 places that we have to report it. We have to report it online, we have to make sure that timely warnings are sent out, not just to students, also to parents and staff. With those timely warnings that are sent out, we also have to have ways for students to be able to interact back with us to give us timely warning tips. We use the LiveSafe app, and we also use EchoSafety. Both of those are very high in rates of being able for people to communicate back what they've seen or if they feel unsafe. The crime log is located outside the police department door. It's updated every morning. You have 48 hours to put in the crimes that happened from the days before. Over the weekend, if something's reported, Monday it has to be put into the crime log. All of that is public information. It doesn't have to just be for students or parents. Anybody can walk in and ask for a copy of our crime stats. Anything that happens on campus is public knowledge. We do void out names, date of birth, social security numbers, and private information. We don't give the details of what happens in a rape or if someone gets attacked and beaten. We do have generic titles that are given out, such as rape, sexual assault, murder, homicide, which will clearly describe what happened in the incident. What is reported and has to be reported are 7 things. You've got your criminal homicide, your sexual assaults, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, motor vehicle theft, and arson. Last week we had a student that hung himself. That was added to the Cleary report. Happened last Friday. Before that, everyone's aware of the murder that happened right off of campus as we thought it was. As you get to Tux and the 107 intersection, happens to be that we owned that piece of property. We had to update our Cleary map, and we claimed that as an on-campus murder. We investigated that. Of course, the records were having to be sent in due to the Cleary Act. Everything has to be documented openly and honestly what happened. Western Carolina University now has their first murder on their Cleary books. Institutes are required to report on persons referred to campus discipline actions, the liquor law, drug violations, and weapon violations. All those also have to be turned into student affairs. If we ever got audited and they come in, we always have to have these on hand. It's for 4 years we have to keep paper copies. The locations that need to be reported, anything that happens on campus. Also on campus means we own property in Jamaica where we have on-site for schools. We also own property in Europe where we have on-site schools. Any place that Western teaches and is classified as a class with a teacher present is going to be an on-campus institution. We have the Biltmore Center in Asheville. That is also in our crime log. We've made a new chapter in the book that has the Biltmore campus, as long as the Highlands Biological Center has also been added into our new crime and safety log report. That is available online on our website. It's also available in paper copy and handed out and distributed out throughout Western Carolina University. Campus safety statistics and what it actually means to the university. You can say that you know what a Cleary Act is and what it does, but what it actually means is that we report openly and honestly what kind of statistics we have. People will say, if you look at the statistics from 10 years ago, why is crime growing? Crime isn't growing. Crime has always been there. People have always been raped. People have always been beaten. People have always been assaulted. Now we have to actually record it. We have to record it in a way that people can get their hands on it. The news, when they hear it on the scanner, they're on scene, they're reporting it. They report things that happen in the same location. You think it's a bad neighborhood. Is it a bad neighborhood, or did they catch it at the right time? Is Western a bad campus because we had our first murder? No. These things happen, just now we have to make it public so people understand what's happening. Crime isn't increasing as much as now we have bad kids. Now we have parents that aren't teaching their kids. Now we have ways that we have to be transparent. Transparency is what the universities have to do now because of the Jean Cleary Act. Virginia Tech paid a fine, $32,000. People ask why Virginia Tech got fined after everything that happened with the active shooter that they had. It was, of course, the major active shooter that they've ever had at a university. Virginia Tech did not document all their information. What I mean by that is a timely warning was not sent out in a timely manner for everybody to know to shelter in place. They say that makes more students at harm, information to get out properly. Because of all of that, they got fined. Penn State, because of the sexual act that they had that took place at their university, has now had the largest fine ever, over $3 million. They never ever fought it in court because they accepted that they were trying to hide their statistics and didn't publish them correctly. In 2006, the Penn State University uncovered the wake of the Jerry Sandusky child sex abuse scandal. Penn State announced on November 25th in 2016 that they would not contest the fines and agree to make payments. That will always be probably one of the biggest fines any university will have. 27 acts of sex abuse was covered up. Not just covered up, it was reported and never documented. Jean Cleary Act does a lot of things, but mostly what it does is it makes sure that transparency is out there for everybody. Transparency so students know what they're getting into, transparency so the parents know where they're sending their students. You can't make an educated estimate of where you want to send someone unless you have all the knowledge and information that you need. The Jean Cleary Act, it took an absolute awful, horrible, horrible thing to happen to their daughter. But because of what happened to her, so many other kids now are so much safer and have a better guess of where they're going to school and the crime that takes place in their school. I want to thank you guys for taking time to come and listen to this. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I did presenting it. If you have any questions about the Jean Cleary Act, you can reach out to me. And again, thank you very much.